Time to do the hands. The hands can be very complicated. However, much with the biped recipes, limbs, the 8-sided cylinders, the 12-sided torso, and the 12-sided uh, sphere for the head, we have a very simple recipe for the hands. That involves the cube, which we'll also do with the feet. And the cube is really simple. It has the height subdivision here of 2. So you have one edge loop that goes right around the center. You have depth subdivisions of 4, so you got one row for each finger to plug into. And then the width subdivision is at 3, which gives you a bend at the palm as well as a place to attach the thumb, which we'll talk about is also quite straightforward and simple to do. I like to use the viewport movement here in between the panels to slide down and be able to see the top down a little bit easier and the perspective view, because that's really what we're going to focus on for this. And I like to view the hand maybe a little bit more this way, facing up down. Kind of fits my fancy a little bit better. So let's build a cube using those dimensions and see how it comes out. Before we get started, it's worth mentioning that I renamed, this was a layer named hands. It should be image plane hands. And you can also click on that image plane like you do with the other ones, go to the attribute editor for that, and kind of make sure I have it selected properly. Make sure we chill out the alpha on this so it's not quite so so white, so bright. There we go. Color gain. There we go. That's a little easier on the eyes than that stark white. And so from the top view, if we have the polygons on create, so I went into the sphere already, or the cube, excuse me, hit the settings box, and I already went 3, 2, 4. And it has dimensions in there, but if you have it set to interactive creation, that lets you click and drag across the image here and then let go and then click and drag up and pull up. And what that'll do is that'll create the cube on the floor here, but you can just pull that up into the image plane and hit F on the keyboard. And that gives you the subdivision you want around the side and the front. And so, yeah, I like that. Worked out pretty good. So we can immediately just switch over to scale that in. The hand is at a bit of a twist on the image plane, so we're just going to loosely follow it. That's okay. I'm not worried about that too much. So one thing to note with the hand is that at the wrist it's quite a bit thicker. So let's go ahead and go to the channel box, and I'm going to hide the image plane for the hand for just a moment. And when we do something new here, did not put it on a new layer. So let's go to the new layer and let's name this layer hands. Hangs. There we go. And as you can see in the PowerPoint document that goes along with this exercise, the fingers are going to be 6-sided with 3 height subdivisions, so 1 for each knuckle, and no cap on there. And we're going to rotate those to the right orientation. We're going to extrude out 2 of the faces. Remember, the 2 faces after you round off the corners creates a 6-sided shape, so that'll fit the finger in perfectly and get rid of the diagonals. So just going through this real quick. On the PowerPoint, I had scaled the end of the spatula. We call the spatula of the hand, the palm of the hand, the spatula. I'd scaled it after the fact. I think I'm going to scale it beforehand this time and make sure that it's already ready to go. And then we're going to reduce some of the polygons at the back of the palm and create a split, an end-on triangle split. So after we delete those edge loops just at the wrist, we're going to cut across a triangle and then diagonally cut across that triangle to the corner and then round out the hypotenuse of that triangle. And that allows us to have a 4-sided shape to plug right into the arm, but still have many more polygons at the hand. So this will be similar to what happens when we do the face. And then you can see with the thumb, we rotate it 45 degrees out, 45 degrees down, and 45 degrees forward. Very straightforward. And we grab 2 of the faces underneath the palm. The thumb attaches to the lower half of the hand. Most beginners will put the thumb coming straight out the side of the hand. That's not the case. It comes out the lower half of the hand. And this 45-degree forward, down, and sideways really it makes a good relaxed position for the hand that's easy to understand. And then we can line up the vertices for the arm. So before I get too far ahead here, go ahead and zoom in here to the hand. So this is the outer part where the fingers are. You can see that we want to have these more, these end polygons where we're going to plug in the fingers. That's definitely more like a 2-to-1 ratio. So we want that to be more like a square between the two of them. So I'm going to go to the vertex mode here, grab the vertices, and oh, we definitely want symmetry off, but we do want to track soft selection. So we want soft select on, just hit the B key. There we go. And there's a pretty good fall off there. So just middle mouse drag to the right, and that'll go to the middle of the palm to the next one. We don't want it to quite influence the end of the palm where it's going to hook into the wrist. We don't want to do that yet. Switch over to the scale tool. If you want to move the scale tool, hold down D, something I haven't quite shown you yet. But if we hold D and V, I can go up and we can have it scale to that point. So if I let go, when I scale, it's going to bring the polygons up to that point. That's really handy when you need it, because that's really how the hand goes. It's a little fatter. You have the pad of the thumb, the pad of the lower half of the palm, and then you have pads under here and the thing, but they're under each of the knuckles of the finger. But it's really thinner and goes up towards the top a little bit. We could take this whole thing, and after you do move the pivot like that, you go up here to the pivot in the move settings, just reset it, and that'll reset the pivot back to the overall center of the vertex selection. So now I can take these and we can kind of bring them back down a little more like that, so it's not perfectly flat. And that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Let's turn the image plane for the hands back on again. And what's important to note with the hands is that the middle finger is the forwardmost point. The pointer finger comes back slightly from, whoops, let me turn off soft select. The pointer finger comes back ever so slightly from the middle finger, and then the ring finger goes back significantly from the middle finger, and then the pinky finger is way back here in the hand. So there's a curve arc that kind of peaks at the middle finger and curves back in again. So there's a really a large arc there. If I were to go to object mode and transparency, and if I were to rotate this whole thing to the actual image plane, you can see here the way it would turn out. It's a little bit wider out here at the knuckles. So let's go ahead and simulate that just a little bit. Let's go to the vertex mode, grab the back hand, the back of the hand at the wrist here, go to scale, and let's scale that in just a bit. And I don't like working at diagonals. I wish I had straightened this hand out from the image just a little bit more. Usually it's the middle finger. If the middle finger is perfectly straight, that designates that the image plane is indeed straight. And you see it's off just a little bit. It's not too bad though. So I'll go in a little more, and it's going to really pop out back out again at the wrist when we bring this out. So I'm not going to follow the bones too much because there's a lot of ligaments and muscle and tissue in there. But for the rest of this, if I want to rotate the whole object to match the image plane, I can go here. But rather than match the image plane perfectly, I'm just going to eyeball it and not try and align it perfectly for the image plane. So I hope that doesn't throw everybody off too much. So I'm going to grab this one here and go to my scale tool, scale that out a bit, go back a little bit more and scale that out a little bit. And I can go back to object mode, rotate, and I can test that out a little bit. Like that. And pretty happy with that. And if you want to go back here, you just go to your rotate tool and type in 0, and that'll bring it back again. So you can always go back to, and that kind of tells you what the transforms, what the freeze transforms does. Right here in the this middle edge, I kind of brought that in maybe a little too tight. So I'll grab that edge loop, double click it, and bring that in a little more like that. And that is the palm for the hand. Pretty easy to do. Now it's not rounded, it's still flat on the edges, but let's do the fingers. So for the fingers, we're going to do 6-sided cylinders. So we have the 6-sided cylinder that we attach to the palm right here. And that is 6-sided with 3 height segments and 1 cap division. So let's go ahead and make that. So we'll go back to Q, my selection mode, object mode, make sure we're out and can't hurt anything. So remember, interactive creation, you click drag wherever you want on the ground, on the grid, and then bring it up. Or if you don't have it on, it'll do 0, 0, 0 at the base of the world. But I can hide definitely get rid of these biped body planes. I don't know why I didn't hide those earlier. Just forgot. And in general, the palm of the hand is exactly the length of the middle finger. The middle knuckle is exactly half again the length of the whole finger. And then the next knuckle, although this middle flange here, the middle bone, looks a little longer, the way it bends usually is about half again. So let's take a look at that. So go create polygon primitive, cylinder, and we want the cylinders. This one we want a really tiny one, so we'll do like 8 and 0.75. And again, we're just going to scale it anyway, so it doesn't matter. So, and then we're going to go 6 on the divisions and 3 and 1 once more. Then if I click on the ground, see it makes that way down there on the ground. No problem. Just kind of bring it up here and up to where the image plane is and hit F on the keyboard. Let's see how close my total shot in the dark guess is. Not too bad. And you can just rotate up here in the channel box, just type in 90 and then activate Alt middle mouse and then move, bring it over. Whoops. And pretty close. Got lucky. I never really thought about the actual measurements for the finger before, but let's just get a see. Okay, so if we take that pivot point to the back here, so we go D and V, grab the circle, bring it to the back pivot, then we can align it with the palm here a little bit more. And on the space bar, bring that forward here like that. And from here, we can go R and we can scale it out a bit more and then rotate around the side here and we could get a little bit of thickness. And it's really going to get more narrow as it goes out, although the knuckles will bulge out. It's going to overall get thinner towards the tip, of course, and thicker at the main knuckle here. And then we can go to the edge loops for each knuckle. So right click, go to edge loop, double click, and go to the move tool. Oops, other move tool. Drag that to the knuckle, go to the next knuckle, edge loop, double click it, and drag that to the next one. I usually like to keep it about half, but I think this is probably a little more accurate. And go to vertex mode, grab the tip of the finger, bring that out, and we have some scaling to do. So again, super simple shape, so it makes life so much easier to get this done. So turn off X-ray mode for a moment. Go to object for a quick sec here and isolate it. Let's get rid of these interior faces so we know we're going to attach this. So we grab those faces, deselect those, delete them, go to the tip of the finger at the end here, and we're actually going to rotate this. I believe it's 60 degrees so that the top is flat. So we're going to go to object mode here, rotate, and I'm going to rotate this so that the flat end of the cylinder is up on the top. Oh no, it was 30 degrees. That's right. There we go. So now if I look at that, this should be perfectly flat on top. And now if we get rid of the diagonals here, so go to Q, select 1, 2, 3, 4, control backspace. Now remember, if I just hit delete, it's going to leave a vertex there. Can't see it until you go to vertex mode, but there is a vertex there. So just watch out. So that's why I keep coloring it out for you guys over and over, just because it can create absolute havoc and it's hard to remember to look for it if you did it and don't remember doing it. So now we can go to the edge, we can go to the top here. And it kind of same thing with the palm. So let's go out of this mode here. So the palm, same thing with the palm. It kind of slopes upward towards the end and kind of maintains. If you look at your hand, it maintains kind of a top flatness with a really slight arc and slopes upward more from the bottom. So we'll kind of simulate that. So let's take the edge down here and we'll go up with it and look at your finger and we'll slide that back quite a bit. And then add Control Shift, go up here, add some more, bring it up a little bit, and then go back to the next one. So bring that up, then grab the other two, bring that up a little more, and then do the next one. And that should give it, at least from the side view, I'll go ahead and hide the hands image plane again. And now that's from the side view. Let's look at it from the top view. So it's much more narrow on the sides. Right, so grab this one. Let's go ahead and bring that back a tiny bit and grab the vertex points. Grab this one, R, go to scale, scale it way in, grab all of them, scale them all in a little bit. Make sure I grabbed all of them. It looks like I might have missed one there. Looks like I got, oh, what the hell did I do? Edit pivot, reset pivot. No, object mode. Oh, geez. I don't know how that happened. So undo. I might have hit a shortcut key unbeknownst to me. Grab those, scale, and bring it in again. Okay, that's better. Wow, that was really wonky. Glad I caught that right away. Next one, grab these, scale in a little bit, scale in a little bit. And without some edge loops to support these, we don't really have too much more we can do. But what we can do is right click on this, go to the model, grab these two, go to your outliner. They're not named yet, right? So let's go finger, base, and let's grab this one, palm, underscore base. And let's grab both of them and Control D, duplicate them, bring them off of the hands layer, remove selected objects from that layer, and then go to the parts layer, body parts layer here, right click and add them to that layer, and that should hide them. And so if we hide the hands and then bring back the body parts, looks like, where's this one at? The finger base, that one should be on the hands as well. Right click, add selected objects, there we go. So it does take a little bit, it's so worth it. I can't stress enough, keeping this clean and organized. Things get so complex so fast, and you want to really be in a good position to catch up, find things quickly, and just to get better and faster by being organized. So do your best to stay organized the whole time through. All right, so we did that. So now we have the base finger one and palm one. So I'm in the middle mouse, drag those back to body parts. We're good to go. Pasted head is still visible. I don't see a pasted head anywhere. I don't know why I did that. Okay, so yeah, I'll clean that up later. And I am not in isolation mode. I am not. Okay, cool. So yeah, so the reason I did is because I'm going to add some subdivisions to this finger to the knuckles, and I want to be able to have that core one to replicate and move around before I do too much more to it. So the thumb's going to come off these two quads right here, this one and this one. So the thumb's going to come out 45 degrees, forward 45 degrees, and 45 degrees this way as well. So it's going to be really easy to do the thumb, and you guys will be pretty happy, I think, with the end result with them. I think I did this end edge loop a little bit too low. So remember, if you double click the edge loop, it's going to go continuous edge loop until it comes to a three-way intersection. It won't know which way to go, left, right, unless it's at a four-way. Same thing, it'll stop if it comes to a five-way intersection. So I go double click that stops where I want it to, and I'll bring that upper knuckle up a little bit, double click that one, make sure it's not getting any more than I wanted to. It's okay. Bring that other one down. That's going to prepare the padding underneath the first knuckle of the fingers to accept the finger as we put it in there. And the middle edge loop here to the middle finger here, these faces here are usually a little bit higher up, so going to go to the face mode, grab this face, and this one here, and just going to bring them up ever so slightly, and then let go of that one, maybe up in the middle one here, maybe up in the front one, and it kind of goes down to the outer one. So right click, go to edge, grab these three edges here on the top, these three edges on the bottom, or switch over to scale and scale them down a little bit because it is thinner on the outside there than it is on the inside. It's gonna have an indentation in the palm, but we're not quite there yet. So yeah, a little bit. So slopes, and then this outer one's gonna slope down just a tiny bit as well. So I can just grab these. 1, 2, 3. Whoops. 2, 3. Bring it down just a tiny bit, and maybe these three. Just up just a hair. There we go. That's good. For the wrist, we're going to go back here along the wrist, go to faces, grab these 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next one, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to grab these pieces here, which are going to extrude out and then make it thicker to attach to the wrist. So go back to the modeling toolkit, extrude these out, switch over to move, just pull that out a little bit. R scale, and it should scale up and out as well to go into the wrist. And we'll talk about the ligaments here for the thumb and whatnot. I really hope every once in a while I'll do the hand, I'll turn the image plane off and just totally start riffing, and I'll forget to double check if I'm doing a left or a right hand, and I'll start doing the thumb there and come to the image like, oh crap, which wouldn't be too bad because we do have both image planes set up for either hand. So whichever side you're more comfortable working on, you have the hands there. All right, this is pretty close to being ready to be completed. So we have that duplicate of the finger. We're going to go ahead and cut a few edge loops in here now, just so we could do the knuckling ahead of time. So we're going to go right here, go to modeling toolkit, and let's see, do a connect and move, and one closer to the back knuckle, do another one. G will connect again. Enter, move it to the closer to the other knuckle. Double click that one, swell out that knuckle just a little bit. So R, scale out, grab the next set, connect, enter, move it back to that knuckle. Marquee drag again, connect, enter, move to the next knuckle here, and then the tip of the finger where we're gonna have the fingernail. Connect, enter. You see it's getting a little zigzaggy on us. A little bit's okay, but we can always just scale that flat and move that back and have more control, move that as needed. Grab this knuckle here, R, scale it out. So the knuckles are, in general, a little fatter than the rest of the bone in between. All depends. Really, everyone's a little different. And you'll see here, I might have brought that in a little bit too tight right off the bat, so I can bring that out a little bit and move it forward. Whoops. There we go. Yeah, that's looking okay. Nice. All right, so that's why I saved that other finger before. So now I go to object mode, bring that out just a hair. Let's grab both of these and isolate them. And prepare where we're going to punch in the 6-sided shape. So we just go to face, grab the two faces here, extrude, and switch over to scale tool, scale in, and pull out just a little bit. As soon as I pull that out, hit delete, grab the next two faces, extrude, switch to the scale tool inside. I'm using the scale within the extrude tool itself for the first time on the videos. So hope that doesn't throw people. I just want to let you know it is okay to use it. It gets wonky really fast, and I typically don't trust it. Grab the next two, extrude, move, scale in, and delete. Next two, extrude, pull, activate scale, grab the center, scale in all three axes, and delete. And there you go. And of course, the pinky finger is way smaller than the other ones, and the ring, so is the ring finger in the middle. So as we go down the row, we can scale these out. But let's double check that the finger is indeed the right size for what we want. So we have the wrist there. Grab that finger and go to X-ray mode. It's looking pretty good. Right about, yep. And let's see if this pinky is from this edge loop here at the wrist, this one right here, to the end. Let's see if this finger is actually the same exact length as the hand. Let's see if that works out. Look at that. It's almost perfect. At the base of the wrist, the end of the finger comes right to this. It's equidistant. It's a nice little simple formula to remember for when you do hands. So we'll bring that over to the middle, and then we're going to replicate it, and then slightly, ever so slightly, rotate and scale it. So grab this one here. I'm going to scale it in just a little bit so I have a better fit. Go to my move tool, Control D. Bring it over to the pointer finger, E. My rotate tool is off somehow to object. Go back to world, rotate it out a little bit, bring it over and scale the whole thing so it's a little bit smaller than my middle finger. Grab the middle finger again, Control D, bring it over, move it, E, rotate it out. Looks like I grabbed the wrong controller there. There we go. Yep. There, and this way I'm just going to be quite a bit smaller. Not like the pinky will be, but bring it down. There we go. And then once again, Control D. This time I'll just take it off the same finger. And the knuckle, that pinky actually goes out pretty close, far to the edge of the hand. So I'll bring it way out here. There's a little bit extra space between the ring finger and the pinky finger, and then scale it way in, like so. And then we'll do the thumb. Go out of X-ray mode. Almost done. You have a nice hand done so easily. Okay, let's grab the middle finger here again, Control D. Bring it back over here. This time we're going to rotate it 45 degrees. So you actually want to mark on this thing 45. And then we also want to bring it down this way 45 degrees and out 45 degrees. And I think I need to freeze the rotations on this thing first. So let's freeze it first. And somehow I got into rigging. Oh, weird. Yeah, I don't know what I hit. Maya's like that, man. It's tough to know which button you press sometimes when you're right in the middle, right in the thick of things. So I zeroed everything out. So again, 45. So let's just punch in 45, 45, 45, 45, 45. There we go. Voila. That's perfect. And then scale. Now we want to scale it by the object. So we want to go from world to object. We want to scale it on its local because the thumb is going to be a little fatty on there. So we want this thumb to be a little shorter and a little bit rounder. So a little thicker like that and a little shorter like that. And if we want to test it out, we can bring it up to the image plane and see how it's doing. Yeah, it's right over there, so it kind of comes out here. There's like a little tiny bone in between the wrist and the thumb. Let's go to X-ray mode so you can see that. So there's really missing a bone right here. It's a part of the wrist. It only has these two bones out here where it attaches to. So that's good to know. And so we can grab this guy again, make sure that our rotation values are indeed at 45, 45, 45. There we go. And so the top of that looking okay. Yeah, it's looking okay. Sometimes I like to just say 45, 45, 45 just to make life easier. But sometimes I think you can nudge it around and just use your own best judgment. But just know that this one I've used so many times, and I know for sure it works pretty well. But sometimes you want to rotate it back, reform a little bit more, and definitely want it down like that, and rotating out a little more this way. And you see they're pretty close. They're in between 25 and 50. And the lower half of the model of the palm is the other thing. So I'm going to go to move and go down to the lower half so we can get that grip below the edge loop here. Right there. And that should be really nice and accurate for us. So go to the palm, go to the face, grab the two faces, one on the side, one underneath. Move those out a bit more. Go to the edge loop out here. Okay, grab that edge. It's going to connect. And this is a little difficult each time when I do this. It's not super smooth. So let's hide the image plane and get it out of the way, because I think it's kind of holding us up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and right click, go to object mode. Let's grab all of them and let's combine them. Okay, so the two quads that we're going to attach to the thumb, we're going to make this a little bit easier on ourselves. We're going to go to the faces here. So I'm going to grab all the objects here. Grab all the fingers, the thumb, and the palm. We're going to go into the modeling toolkit. We're going to combine them all. Then after that, we can freeze it, delete its history, and maybe center the pivot as well. Where'd the pivot go on this thing? There it is. So yeah, the center pivot will bring it back over. And then after you center the pivot, just to get it easier to grab, go D and then V, and then just drag it right to the center of the back of where we're going to attach the wrist. And that'll give you an easy control point for the hand. And for faces that are not attached, even though they're all one mesh, if they're not sealed and merged into the other vertices, you can go to face mode, double click, and it'll grab all the faces that are connected to it. So that gives you like a little bit of an easier grab on the thumb. We can pull that down a little bit even farther down. If you look at your thumb and let your thumb relax, it really goes down at quite a angle. So that way we can grab these two faces here. So 1 and 2, and we can extrude them and bring them out. Whoa, switch to move. Yeah. Bring them out, switch to scale, and then as we hold down D, I haven't shown you this yet, but you can align it to different parts on the model. So if I align it to that edge, it's going to go right to that edge. You can align it to a face. You can align it to a vertex. You can align it to a face here. So aligning it to the edge lets you go and flatten that piece that you just extruded out, and then the pivot stays there for a moment. So then I can rotate it out a bit more. And there's like a big web. There's a big piece of flesh for the thumb that we're kind of creating as we go. And we're going to define underneath the palm as well. So that's going to be pretty darn good for right now. I'm pretty happy with that. We could switch back over and reset the pivot. And the yellow one lets you go to whatever's the screen. You see, no matter how I rotate the yellow one, so you get to be roughly equal with the screen here, like that, and rotate it to match the entry point where that thumb is. Go here to the front. It's looking okay. Could scale it just a little bit more. No, I think that's okay. And let's delete it. So we're just going to delete that. And I believe we deleted the back end of all the fingers, just making sure it's real easy to forget. Yeah, we deleted the back caps of the face of the thumbs, and we deleted the interior cap of that thumb region here. And then, like I said, the web is a little tangled at the moment, but that's okay. We could just switch right over to edge or vertex mode, and we can pull a lot of this out. Go to this edge here and pull that forward, and it very quickly solves any overlapping problems. Go in here to vertex mode, grab the vertex, and this little cube is also going to be flat to the screen. You can kind of move that one here, grab this one, go to vertex mode and snap. We could do actual vertex snapping or welding if we wanted to, but I'm just kind of moving stuff around still. And this one here in particular, I love that student version warning every single time it saves. So annoying. The joys of free software. That one up to here. Grab that one back there, and then just doing the same thing we did in the very first video, which was to connect all the vertices. Even though they're not quite welded yet, they will be welded in just a moment. There we go. Kind of relax them so they're not jagged and penetrating through each other too much. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Do the same thing over here. So we're going to go to the knuckle region here. And let's go ahead and just go to target weld. Let's just get this done and over with. So just target weld these one at a time. The joys of just having 6 sides to deal with. This goes pretty fast. You can imagine if these were 12 sides or 16 sides. You know, it just becomes really cumbersome to do it that way. There we go, 1, 2, 2. And it's giving us the webbing for free. Just about got it. It's better to go to the nice even octagon shape and then move from there than like having this boxy kind of weird trapezoidal shape and then trying to model better shapes from that one. This is going to give us a much cleaner starting point. So I think those are all good. These, again, these are not welded down here. So what will we do? Back over to Q, right click, go to vertex mode, grab all the vertices for the hand, marquee drag across all of them, edit mesh, and merge settings box. Hit apply or merge, close it, and then hit 3 on the keyboard, smooth it, see if there's any gaps or holes, and that is very clean. We can always add some edge loops in, but taking them out is a bear. So we have like a really good starting point here. And the web here on the inside of the thumb, we definitely want to grab these ones and still do a lot of finessing for that. So just like with the body and the face and the head, you know, everything you finesse, it's so much easier to finesse. You'll see when we do some of the sculpting, it's easier to move this stuff around organically in the organic sculpting package than this vertex pushing. But for now, this is okay. Okay, so probably the hardest part for the first time that you do it, we're going to do the N-gon poly split. So we're going to go from these row of 4 edges on the top and the bottom into just the 2 rows that go into the body, right? So we have the second biped body right here. We have the arm that we're going to go into the 8-sided cylinder, and this is actually a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 12-sided. So we're going from 12 into 8. And the way we do that is using the N-gon poly split. So let's do that. Let's grab the faces here. And let's give ourselves a little bit of space to work. So we're going to come back over here, go to edge mode, and going to manually select 1, 2, 3 underneath the wrist 4. Control backspace, going to delete. And then 1, Control Shift 2, 3, 4, Control backspace. And now we have an 8-sided octagon, right? So if I go to faces, I grab 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I go into the modeling toolkit and extrude and pull that out, I am now going into the arm, to the octagon, right? Into the wrist, to the forearm twist, whatever. So delete those. We're good to go. But we can't leave this N-gon here. So that's if I go to edges, that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. So does this one. So the way we fix that is with the N-gon poly split, a triangle N-gon split. So go to the multi-cut, go to this piece here, and go to the middle of the center edge in between the 2 triangles. So 1, then let go of shift, go back 2, enter. Do the same thing below. 1, shift 2, click and enter. After that, go to the center of the triangle, hold down shift so you know you're centered. Click once and then go to the outside corner, enter. 2, do the same thing on the other side, go shift 1, 2, and enter. And do the same thing for underneath, go 1, 2, enter, and shift 1, 2, and enter. Once you do that, go to the move tool, go to vertex, and even out these 3 quads as much as you can. Make them nice, and try to minimize that sliver shape there as much as you can. Try and bring them out here. If you there's a bunch of stuff we can try to do here. We can bring this edge loop back right here. You have to double click a couple times now and go around, since it has a 5-star intersection, and we can bring that back. Get a little bit of space to breathe. Then we can grab these 2, bring them back a little bit. We haven't moved these vertices yet. It's easy to forget these ones underneath the palm. There we go. And now hit 3 on the keyboard and see how it smooths. It smooths very nicely. We're going to do the same thing for the face. We're going to do the same thing at the ear. the eyes, the nose, the mouth. Anytime you have a greater amount of detail, 1, 2, 3, 4, going into less amount of detail, so the face going into the neck, hand going into the wrist, foot going into the leg, you want to have this nice triangle N-gon poly split right here. And once you do it a few times, it becomes old hat, and hopefully you'll get it, and all your organic models will have all perfect quad topology flow. That's the goal here that I'm teaching you. That will definitely improve all of your organic models. And in general, if you want to seal and combine models together and merge those vertices, you'll need to use this trick quite a bit. We want to round off the shape. It's still really square, even though perhaps the form and the wrist is like that. So we'll grab these 4 vertices on the top and 4 more on the bottom, and we'll scale them in, and we just kind of round that off to get more of that octagon shape, and that also relaxes how this flows around the corner here. Same thing underneath. Yeah, that's looking good. And this palm right here, the thumb, probably came back a little too far, so we'll just push that forward, and then this one goes way forward, like that. And then we should have room to bring the other side. So all these are going to come down quite a bit to kind of match how much of a padding you have on the thumb. And same thing here on the outside, so we'll bring that down. And so now you get to the rounding and the finesse portion of this, which is taking any of these cube edges and just kind of rounding out the corners. Same thing underneath, go underneath here, grab those, and just kind of round off the side here. Do the same thing on the other side here. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, go the top and the bottom row. If they're between any 3 vertices on an organic form, there should never be a straight line. That's the golden rule. So we're curving and bending. Our bodies are a series of arcs. And it is such an important rule that I'm going to repeat it over and over again as we do organic modeling. When we get into the hard surface stuff, you'll have a different set of rules, of course. And that is pretty good to go. We could do some more on the pad and the palm. We could push up the middle in here, push up the inside, the palm. The padding here, the knuckles are usually farther back on the top. And so if you look at your hand and see how far forward the palm, the pads go forward here. And then if you bend your fingers back, you'll see the knuckles stick out, and the knuckles are actually back quite a bit further. So what I'll usually do to simulate that is I'll grab these vertices right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops. 5. Make sure I didn't grab anything on accident on the bottom there. We're starting to get a little more complex, so it's easier. It gets easier and easier to accidentally grab something. Pull these way back, and you see now you get the little webbing right here. So the bottom vertices should indeed be forward, more forward for the crease of the padding of your hand, right? And the top knuckles should be back farther, so that way. Let's see, bring that around. And you can grab pieces. So we showed you the pivot trick, right? So if I grab the pivot here and I want them to scale out sideways equally, it's hard now. I can't do that because we're off axis from the world. So what you can do is hold down D, grab an edge here, align it to the edge, and then as you scale it, you can still scale the width there. Isn't that cool? Such a cool trick. Go over here, same thing, edge, double click the edge, reset the pivot position right there, hold down D, and grab that top edge to align it, and then scale it out a little more, or we'll move it back and forth. You know, just get it wherever you need it to be. And look at your hand, just reference your hand a lot. Get the web, the pivot. So if we grab these vertices right here, reset again the pivot, and bring them over to the side a little bit, and that should work out very nicely. And looking at the webbing on the hand and the underneath the palm, right here, it actually comes forward quite a bit. This bottom part of the palm comes forward like that, but You know, we don't want to get too, again, it's easier to sculpt it with your Wacom tablet. I'm pretty happy with it. Hopefully you're happy with your hand. So file save. And we can move on to the foot.